Good morning and welcome everyone. So this is the final webinar in the series in the medical regulatory compliance series. So final and seventh webinar which we have done. So the topic for today's webinar is certification requirements of PPE. So PPE stands for protective personal equipment. So that is what our medical staff, workers, professionals are wearing during the COVID pandemic. So that's how I think if anyone of you want to have some related or queries regarding the certification in the PPE, so this would be the webinar where you can have a lot to know and explore in this area. So we have for the speaker with us for this webinar series, Mrs. Siddharth Jain, who is the CEO and Chief Regulatory Officer at Symbio Clinical Triology. So yeah, without further ado, I'd like to request Siddharth Jain to start the session.
Fine. So,
Sure.
good morning to all. And so now we are already successfully conducted the six uh, webinars on the different aspects of the medical device regulations. So now this will be the our last session. On this, we will be having a discussion about the what are the certification or the regulatory requirement for your personal protective equipment, because this is like right now very important because of the COVID scenario that without the PPE, both at the uh, hospital side or at the sample selection side, they have a very what we call it a disaster in terms of management of the COVID. So what are the requirements? How you can fulfill your requirement for getting your PPE certified? Either if you want to sell your PPE in India or if you want to sell that PPE in other countries. So what are the regulatory requirements? What are the ISO standards that you should consider it when you are going for the PPE manufacturing or any type of regulatory approvals? So these are the major misconceptions among the manufacturers of PPE are right now that they are not categorized under the medical devices, and we don't need a 1345 certificate. So these are the two major misconceptions right now, which is having to all the PP manufacturers. But recently, the CDSU has released one of the notifications stating that, as per the definition which they have released in the month of February, according to that definition, the PPE can also be defined as a medical devices. Reason being, the PPE can be used for the prevention of any disease or disorder. So yeah, it's not a disorder, but it can be used for the prevention of the disease. If you can see the medical device definition, point number one: diagnosis, prevention, monitoring, treatment or alleviation of any disease. So the PPE kit is used for the prevention of any disease. So according to this definition of medical devices as per the Indian medical device rule, all the PPE can now be medical devices, and they have to get the manufacturing license from the CDSU also. Since now the PPE is categorized or come under the definition of medical devices, so ultimately the ISO 13485 is also going to make it applicable to you. So just being make sure that that your devices is PPE is a medical devices, and you definitely you going to be need a 13485 certificate for your in your quality management system. So what is the definition of PPE? So the PPE is a specialized clothing or equipment worn by an employee for protection against infectious material. So this is the definition which is released by the Occupational Safety and Hazard Agency of USA, and it defines that any other clothing or equipment which is worn by an employee for the protection against infectious disease or infectious material, they can be classified or they can be defined as a PPE. So currently, all your mask and the coveralls and the gowns and the goggles, that because of this definition only, they are right now classified under the PPE. And what are the factors which influence the PPE selection? Mostly it depends upon a type of exposure it is going to be get anticipated. with respect to where that PPE is going to be get used. It means that they might be having exposure like splash or spray versus touch, or the category of isolation precautions. It means that that there might be a splash or spray versus touch. So in the COVID scenario, you can say that there might be a splash can also be happened, and they might can be touch also can be happen because of the all the infected COVID patients. So it totally depends upon type of exposure which is anticipated, and also it depends upon the durability and appropriateness for the task where your PPE is going to be get used. Either it's going to be used at the hospital setting or it's used at the industrial setting. Where it's going to be get used. So this will affect in the selection of PPE. Accordingly, that PPE will be get worn by the users. And fit mean that again where is going to be get used, whether it's going to be used at the hospital under the clean environment or at the industrial side where no such any clean environment should be maintained. So these are the three major influencing factors while selection of the PPE: about the exposure, durability, and where you are going to use, and the fit where you have to use your PPE. So now, currently, if you in all the Indian tenders and all the other procurement which is happening either in India or the worldwide, they all are asking that your PPE should fulfill certain basic requirements. So many of the countries or the regulatory authorities, they are asking that you should have a CE marking for your personal protective equipment. So, what is a CE marking for the PPE, and how to achieve the C certification for your PPE? Right. The as per the European regulations 2016/425, it covered the process for CE marking of personal protective equipment, which describe as any device or appliance designed to be worn or held by an individual for protection against one or more health and safety hazards. They can be described as a PPE. So you can just see that the definition of PPE as per the EU, as per the European Union, as per the USA, and as per the India, they all state that which is used or protect against any one or more health and safety hazards. So you can classify them as a personal protective equipment. So the older requirement or the previous PPE directive was 89/686/EEC, which was recently being replaced by the EU regulations 2016/425 on 21st of April 2018. So all the PPE manufacturers currently, they have to abide and they have to follow this current regulation of 2016/425 if they want to sell your product in any of the regulated or the non-regulated countries, because this will be your entry point for selling your PPE or getting it compliant with the regulatory requirements. However, the PPE is not going to be get applied in this following scenarios. When PPE is intended specifically for use by the armed forces, when PPE is for self-defense with the exception of PPE intended for sporting activities. If it is used in the sports, you cannot say that it's a PPE or self-defense purpose, or if it is used in the armed forces, you cannot say it's a PPE. If it is intended to use against the any atmospheric conditions or the damp of water during dishwashing, if any type of dishwashing is happening, so you cannot say that the the the, the clothing which you have wear is a PPE. So these are the different scenarios where you can say that your device or your product is not falling under the PPE. Further to that, any of the sea-going vessels or aircraft that are subject to be relevant international trade treaties, they are not be classified or intended to PPE. Head, face, or eye protection intended for drivers and passengers of the motorcycle and mopeds intended to be used on public roads, like all the helmets and everything. You cannot be classified them as a PPE. So these regulations will not going to be applied in all these 5 scenarios. If it is used in armed forces, used in the sporting activities, used in the dishwashing activities, or if we use in the public roads like the helmets and and the hat, face, or eye protection. So you cannot classify them, or you cannot use that this directive for getting your product certified. So there are different categories of PPE. So what are the different categories of PPE? I will be just, there are the 3 different categories depending upon the risk of the category. So category 1, it will be the PPE intended to protect users against minimal risk as defined by the list which is given in the annexure 1 of the this directive. Category 2 will be equipment falling neither in category 1 and category 2. It will be a category 3. It will be a category 2 PPE, and category 3 will be a PPE intended to protect users against various serious risks such as death or irreversible damage to health as defined by the exhaustive list in Annexure 1 of this directive, can be classified or can be categorized as a class 3 PPE. So I will be discussing more in detail what is category 1, 2 and 3. So here you can able to see that for category 1, PPE intended to protect users against minimal risk like the superficial mechanical injury, contact with cleaning material of weak action or prolonged contact with water, contact with hot surface not exceeding 50 degrees Celsius, damage to eyes due to exposure to sunlight, and atmospheric conditions that are not of an extreme nature. In all these cases, you can categorize, if your product is used in all these conditions, you can categorize them as a category 1 PPE. So these are the typically 5 sets of uh, uh, or what we call it example, which is listed in the directive, where you can categorize if your any of the product falling under that category. You can say that my PP is a category 1 medical device, or my product is category 1 product. And depending upon that only, the further requirement of certifications will be carried out. Now the category 2, as I told, that equipment falling into neither category 1 or category 3, it will be categorized as a class 2 PPE. So you already know that what all type of equipments and the machines or the materials will going to be used or can be categorized as class 1. And now what it will be going to for a category 3. PPE, as I told you, is intended to protect users against various serious risks such as death or irreversible damage to health as defined by the exhaustive list in Annexure 1 can be categorized as a class 3 PPE. So the examples, typical examples included are substances and mixtures which are hazardous to health, atmosphere with oxygen deficiencies, harmful biological agents, ionizing radiations, high temperature environment, low temperature environment that affect, and electric shock and live walking. These are the typical examples where you can categorize your material or your product into a class 3. So how we can classify the personal protective equipment currently which is using for the COVID. So here you can see under the category 3, subpart C, which is used for the harmful biological agents, because right now the COVID is a biological agent, right? Because it's a virus, right? And it is, and the PPE like the coveralls, mask, N95 mask, the 3-layer mask, goggles are going to be used, and it is used to prevent the any serious risk such as death or irreversible damage to health. So because of this reason, you can say that all your PPE can be now categorized as a class 3 uh, PPE according to the this directive. So this is a typical steps to go ahead for getting your product certified as per this directive of EU 2016/425. Suppose if your product is falling under the category 1, right? So you only have to prepare a technical documentations, and you have to prepare a declaration of conformity, and you can do a self certification or self attestation of your C certifications, where the intervention of the external notified body is not required if your product is a class 1 category PPE. Now, suppose if your product is a class 2 category, so it is an intermediate design, you have to again prepare the technical documentations, and then a EU type examination as per the module B will be going to be happen, and then you have to prepare a EU declaration of conformity, and then you can able to mark the C certificate. You can have a C mark on your product. Now, what is a EU type examination module B? Under the EU type examination module B, a notified body will going to review all your technical documentations, and depending upon the audit findings, they will going to raise you any other non-conformities, and then they will issue you the C certifications for your category 2 PPE, right? So, and now if your product is a category 3, which is a complex design, and all the right now all the COVID uh, PPE, they are falling under the category 3. So now again you have to prepare a technical documentation as per this directive requirement, and further to that you have to prepare there will be an audit can be carried out as per the EU type examination module B by the notified bodies. And after the technical documentation audit, according to the module C2 or module D of this directive, they will be going to audit your manufacturing facility to see how you are manufacturing the PPE for the marketing purpose. So there will be a two type of audit. One, there will be a technical audit, and then there will be a manufacturing audit for the all the category 3 PPE medical devices, like the all the coveralls, all the masks, the N95 masks. There will be two audits will be happening. In one audit, there will be module B, and then there will be the manufacturing audit also. In the manufacturing audit, as per the module C2 or module D, you have to implement your manufacturing facility as per the requirement of ISO 13485/2016, and all the quality manual procedures, formats, validations data, testing data should be present before they are coming for the audit. So I will be taking any questions right now with respect to the classification of the PPE or how to categorize your PPE.
Right. So any questions we have from the participants? So you can just raise your hands or put in the chat box. We can take these questions one by one. So I think due to the topic itself, like we have don't have any such questions, but put the questions here. We can wait for some few minutes.
Now, after you have categorized your PPE, whether you're falling under class 1 or class 1 category or 2 or 3, you have to prepare the technical documentation. So what are the typical content of your technical documentation will be? It should be have a complete description of the PPE and its intended use, all the pictorial diagram and everything you have to provide over here. Also an assessment of the risk against which the PPE is intended to protect, where your PPE will going to be get used and going to be protect depending upon the risk. You have to provide the entire detailed risk benefit analysis and the risk management report you have to provide as per the requirement of ISO 14971/2019 standard. Also a list of essential health and safety requirements that are applicable to the PPE. This list of essential health and safety requirements they are giving in Annex 1 of the EU directive. So you have to just check it that what all are going to be applicable to your PPE, depending upon the risk category of your PPE it is. Also, you have to provide the entire well planned and detailed design of your design manufacturing drawing of your PPE, what are the components of assemblies, if any circuits are used. So all this type of information with respect to the design and manufacturing, you have to provide the manufacturing flow chart, what are the in-process control and the manufacturing control or the finish control you are going to have on your PPE during the time of manufacturing. So you have to be clearly well defined in your technical documentations. Also, you have to define the description and explanations necessary for the understanding of drawings and scheme referred to in point and or the operation of the PPE. You have to give an pictorial diagram how your PPE should going to be get worn by the end users. So a pictorial diagram and explanations with the detailed understanding should be given in your technical documentations. If any of the harmonized standard is going to be get applicable to your PPE, you have to enlist that harmonized standard, and accordingly to that harmonized standard, you have to carry out all the testings, all the performance testings. I will be discussing more in detail for each and every type of PPE, what are the harmonized standards and what are the testing standards are available and what type of testing is mandatory for your PPE. So further to that, all the design calculation, inspections, examinations carried out to verify the conformity of the PPE with the applicable essential health and safety requirement you have to furnish over here. And also a copy of manufacturer instruction and information for use should be well planned, detailed with control version number should be given in your technical documentations whenever, and you have to submit the entire documentation for getting it audited by the notified bodies. Because as per the module B of this directive, you have to submit the technical documentation for the audit. And once you have cleared the documentation audit, only then the on-site audit will be carried out by the notified bodies. So in India, the notified bodies which are currently taking the project for the PPR are the SGS, because the SGS is a UK notified body which having a presence and having an office in Chennai, and they have an office at the Ambattur area of Chennai and having a staff of more than 2,000 over there. They have a very good facility of testing of PPE also in India. So you can appoint the SGS also as one of your notified body partner for getting your PPE certified. Now, as per the regulatory requirement, as I have said you that for the module C2 and for the module D, there will be an on-site audit will be carrying out by the notified body. So as per the Article 11A, there will be two type of audit can be happening. Either it will be a product monitoring activity will be happening, or it will be a quality system monitoring activity can be carried out by the notified bodies. So under the product monitoring, this involved the notified body selecting and removing a random sample of manufactured item of PPE, which were then testing by the method used in the original ECTAC examination to ensure continuing compliance. So they will come to your facility, they will randomly take your samples, and they will send the samples to check with respect to that particular harmonized standard, whether your PP is complying to that particular harmonized standard or not. So this is what we call it a product monitoring, which is carried out by the notified bodies. Second type of monitoring is the quality system. Under this involved visiting the manufacturing site and checking that quality system which is used by the manufacturer were capable of enabling consistent production of the certified product. It means that you have to implement the ISO 13485-116 in your system, and you have to do all type of quality checks like the in-process, the raw material inspection, in-process checks, in-process quality check, the finished good check, the performance parameters check, and all type of things you have to be checked for each and every lot which you are right now going to be produced. And at the time of quality system monitoring, they can again check that whether the system where you are manufacturing, they are capable or are producing a consistent device or not. So depending upon the requirement, either product monitoring or a quality management, quality system monitoring activity will be carried out by the notified bodies, and it will be carried out on a regular interval of time while that item or PP remain in production. So so it's a regular activity. You cannot just say that once you got the certified or get your PP certified, there will be no any monitoring activities by the notified body. They will come at any time and they can do a project monitoring or a quality system monitoring for your facility. Now, what are the further regulatory requirements for a different type of products which we are right now manufacturing? For the personal protective coveralls, it should be impermeable to the blood and body fluids. It should be a single-use devices and avoid culturally unacceptable colors like black color, which is not going to be get acceptable. Light colors are preferable to be better detect possible contamination. That's why you are seeing that most of the requirement, that most of the coverall, they are either coming in lighter green color or in blue in color, or a sea green or sea blue in color. They are coming right now. Thumb finger loops to ankle sleeve should be in place, because these are the typical design requirement which any other PPE manufacturer should consider before they would like to initiate the production of PPE. Further to that, as I talk about the harmonized standards, so all the personal protective coverall, they should meet or exceed the requirement of ISO 16603 class 3 exposure, like pressure or the equivalent. It should be meeting the requirement, minimum requirement, or it should exceed the requirement of this particular standard. And it also should be certified as per the requirement of EN 14126, which is barrier to infective agents. So you can send your raw materials to the lab which are currently certified by the ICMR and also by the CDSCO. You can get your raw material get tested as per this requirement, and you can then say that the raw material from your protective coverall they are manufacturing, they are meeting the quality compliance, or they are meeting this harmonized standard requirements. In India, the testing laboratory, the prominent testing laboratory which are present and doing this type of testing are the DRDO. They are doing the testing, and a Citra lab which are located in Coimbatore. They are doing this type of testings. Then for the goggles, because whenever we are doing a production PPE kit, so in PPE kit typically all is going to be a content, personal protective clothing will be there, goggles will be there, N95 mask will be there. So we have a requirement for each and every aspect, sub parts of the PPE kit also. Now for the goggles, it should be transparent glasses, zero power, well fitting, covered with all the sides with elastic band or an adjustable holder, seal good with the skin of the face, flexible frame to easily fit all the face counters without too much pressure, cover the eyes and surrounding areas and accommodate for the prescription glasses. Fog and scratch resistant, these are the very important requirement that it should be fog and scratch resistant. Adjustable band to ensure to secure firmly so as not to become loose during the clinical activity, and direct venting to reduce fogging, maybe reusable or disposables, and also it should be get compliant with the requirement of this directive plus the requirement of EN 166/202 plus the requirement of ANSI/SEA Jet 87.1 version 2010. So the goggles, because currently you are going to procure the goggles from various vendors, so make ensure that the goggles whichever you are from your vendors, they should comply with this particular two requirement, EN 166 and ANSI Jet 87.1 2010 version of the standard. Now, for the N95 masks, many other manufacturers they are right now are putting their facility for the N95 mask. So N95 mask should not collapsible easily. It should not collapse easily. Should have high filtration efficiency and good breathability with expiratory valve. Quality compliant with standard for particular respirator that can be worn with full face shield, and it should be compliant with the requirement of NEOS N95 and EN149 FFP2 or equivalent, and also it should have a fluid resistance of minimum of 80 mm of Hg pressure based on the requirement of ASTM 1862 or ISO 22609. But in India, there is no testing laboratories who are doing the testing for the NEOS or EN149. So you have to send your sample of N95 marks either to the USA or to the European for get it tested as per the NEOS or get it tested as per the requirement of EN149. Now, for a face shield, if you are manufacturing a face shield, it should be from a clear plastic and provide good visibility to both the wearer and the patient. It should be adjustable, should be fog resistant, should be completely cover the size and the length of the face, may be reusable or disposable, and it should again follow the requirement of EN 166202 plus again the ANSI requirement of Z87.1 -2010 requirement. So you have to make it see that all your PPE kits, whether it is a face shield or the N95 mask or goggles or the personal protective coveralls, should be follow this particular regulatory requirements. So that whenever there will be any tender is happening in India, because tender, these are the basic requirements which any other government agency will demand that show me the compliance with this. So accordingly, you have to furnish all the test reports and every documentations so that you can get eligible for the tender also. So make ensure that all these things are in place whenever you are going for the manufacturing or you would like to go for the selling in either in India or you want to export to other regulated or non-regulated countries. So for a triple layer mask, it should be having a high filter efficiency of 99% for 3 micron particle size, and it should be follow or complying to an EN 14683 standard. So all the 3-ply masks, if you are having in your PPE kit, it should be compliant to this quality or harmonious standard, what we call it EN 14683, or it should be equivalent to that. So these are the typical various requirement or the standard which you have to follow for it. So currently in India, since the government has also notified that your PPE kit is coming under the medical device definitions. So as per the notification which is recently been released by the CDSCO, you have to have a SUGAM portal login credentials, and under that, under non-regulated medical devices, you have to file your for the manufacturing license, and then when you are going to apply for the manufacturing license under the SUGAM portal, you need 2 things again. You need the ISO 13485 certificate from an NABH accredited certification body, plus you need a declaration from your site. So these 2 are the basic document which is going to be used for the uploading on the SUGAM portal. And once the uploading process has been conducted successfully, then you have to provide all the basic or technical information about your product, and you have to upload it to the SUGAM portal. And accordingly, what we call it a registration number or unique number will be going to be get issued to your company. So on that basis, you can able to sell your product into the India market. So I have taken a very brief session on the PPE. I have just completed between half an hour because the topic is very brief topic right now. So if any other questions you are having with respect to the requirement, do let me know.
Right, perfect. We have a question from Mr. Sameer. Does ISO 9001 fulfill module C2 or module D?
No, you have to go for the requirement of 13485 because 9001 is for a general medical for general manufacturers. For if you are going for the for exporting to other countries and also for the India, at the time of tendering, they will demand the 13485 certificate. not 9001.
Right. Okay. Sure. I think that answers your question, Samir. Next question from Mr. Tejas. Do we need any license or certification for using UVC tube in a product?
No, you don't need any license right now for using any of the for the ultraviolet tube right now. You can able to
Mhm.
use it.
Mhm. Great. We have next question from Karthi. Any Indian standard for PPE kits? IS in the standards for face shield, nitrile gloves, head covers, shoe covers. And
No, basically we are using the Indian standards are available. We have to check it out. Yeah, definitely there will be Indian standards are available, but
Mhm.
mostly we have to see follow the requirement of either the ASTM or the EN or the requirement of ISO standards only.
Mhm.
Because the IS standard is just the replica of all the standards with a few more added points over there.
Mhm. Okay, great. Yeah. Any other questions we have? We have covered most of the questions. Thank you so much, Tejas, for attending. A question from Dr. Ashok. Just government kept the price of 1080 rupees per PP kit without fixing the quality. So is
Yeah, they had not fixed the quality, unfortunately, but they are telling that if you want to go for the government tender, whatever harness standard I have right now speak about, that you should be followed, and they will going to ask at the time of tendering system that furnish me the test reports and everything. So yeah, they have just fixed the price, not with respect to the quality,
Mhm.
because there are different type of PPE kits with respect to the GSM, 80 GSM, 50 GSM, 75 GSM, and then the quality and both the price vary considerably depending upon the GSM of the raw material you are going to use. So they have not fixed the GSM right now.
Okay, right. So next question from Mr. Samir. Are all PP should be CE marked in India?
No, it is not a must. C mark is not a must, but you yes, the must which is that you should follow the all the harmonized standard. Your product should follow and get past all the harmonized standard. If you don't want to export in European country, but still you have to follow all these regulatory standards to comply for your PPE.
Right. Okay. Next question from Mr. Somnath. If you can elaborate standards for N95 mask.
Yeah, for the N95 mask, I will going to get elaborate that the for the NEOS for the NEOS is one of the important document standard which you might be seeing on the most of the N95 mask. So mostly talk about the filtration efficiency of the bacteria, and so mostly the filtration efficiency of the bacteria and the viruses is will going to be get tested over there.
Mhm. Right. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Somnath. Um, Next question from Dr. Ashok. How a manufacturer compete with NSQ product?
NSQ product, what is NSQ?
Yes.
National.
I'm unmuting you, Dr. Ashok, so that you can ask your question. Yeah. Yeah, right. Now you're unmuted. You can ask your question, Dr. Ashok. Hello.
Hello.
Dr. Ashok, can you hear me? Hello. Hello, Dr. Ashok. So I think we are not able to reach him or hear Dr. Ashok. So whenever you're open, you can ask the question, Dr. Ashok. So let's
Hello.
say,
Uh, am I audible?
yeah, now,
You are audible. Hi, Dr. Ashok. Yeah.
NSQ means it's of not of standard quality because nodal officer for the COVID hospital during scrutinization we found supplier government and
your voice is breaking, Dr. Ashok. We lost you in between.
Yeah, totally agree that about the below the standard quality or no standard quality product, how to compete with that type of manufacturers. Yeah, it's going to be difficult because many of time this type of manufacturer they are selling the product at a at a very low cost, and many of the small hospitals because of they don't know what are the requirement it is, they they came into their trap and they buy their product. But this is an unfortunate scenario in India, but not also in a PPE, but for most of the medical devices because of the unawareness among the buyers or the doctors. They are buying this type of low quality or no standard quality products.
Right. Next question from Mr. Karthi. Clean room is mandatory for PPE manufacturing. Is it mandatory to have?
If the product is delivered in sterile conditions, clean room is mandatory. Yeah, most of the if you see the all the good big manufacturers of PPE in India right now, to whom I am connected with it, they all are having a clean room, and
Mhm.
they have having a very huge clean room for the all the stitching purpose and everything, for the manufacturing of the coveralls and everything. Because the controlled environment, your product should be have. You cannot just manufacture your product in the uncontrolled environment where that product is although be having a higher bacterial load, because then the chances of getting the bacterial infection or any type of disease will become high. So, but currently, unfortunately, because in India, with no very strict requirement from the government, the PPE is currently manufacturers in right now and sitting at home also without having taken care of the proper uh, having a proper environmental control.
Right. Next question from Mr. Karthi itself. ISO IC 17025 lab reports are accepted under PPE MDD directive in EU.
Yeah, they are acceptable.
Okay. Right. Next question from Mr. Somnath. Any viral filtering efficiency test standard for N95 mask, or is clean room required for N95 mask manufacturing?
No, usually the clean room is not required. If you can able to also have what we call a well ventilated. See,
Mhm.
clean room is not the prime requirement. It should be a clean. It should be a well ventilated and dust free area, and it should be sufficient for manufacturing your PPE. But you cannot manufacture in an uncontrolled area where there is lots of dust and lots of external air or pollution or dust is coming or the direct sunlight is coming. So make ensure that for the all the type of PPE or the N95, you should have a well ventilated area or control area.
Right. Uh, Next question from Dr. Ashok. Is there any specification for PAPR in India?
PAPR is what it is again.
So I think this is mistyped by. I'm unmuting you, Mr. Ashok, Dr. Ashok. Or if you can just put in the chat box itself. Covered and air respiratory protection for PAPR. So is
So,
it
currently there is no any such requirement in India present for the power and air respiratory protections.
mhm. Okay?
All this type of product are mostly being used in the at the industrial site, where the heavy type of occupational related hazards are there. So this type of respirators are used over there only in the chemical industries and in the very higher the populated areas.
Mhm. Okay. From next question from Mr. Sameer, should PPE CE marked coverall for medical purpose be also under medical device
So,
directive?
no, it's not coming under the medical device directive. It's coming under the directive which I already mentioned. It's coming under EU 2016/425. Medical device directive is 9342 EEC. So this is such a different requirement of PPE. You have to follow the requirement of 2016/425.
Right. Okay, so I think if we have any more questions, we can take it. Standards for reusable.
There is no any such standard for reusable or single use. We have only one standard for the
Mhm.
PPE, which everyone has to follow it.
Okay. Right. So I think we have covered most of the questions for today, and we have also, covered the series for the webinar now. So I'll just ask everyone to share their feedback on the form link, which I'm just sharing in the group chat, and you can share your feedback over there. And if you have any other questions or queries regarding medical regulatory and compliance, so you can directly share it with us. We can, connect you with Mr. Siddharth, or you can directly reach to Mr. Siddharth as well, asking for help and support, taking KIT TBI as a reference. So yeah, I think we are done for the webinar session. So any thoughts from you, Mr. Siddharth, or any advice you want to give?
Yeah, जो है, we have very good sessions. All the 7 sessions gone very well, and we have the goal of both that the KIT TBI and my achieved, that we want to educate all the startups with respect to the various regulatory compliance thing, which they should consider at a very early stage, from the idea stage only, and then you have to correctly strategize your pathway, because it will be having a directly impact on when you are going for raising the funding. And I have seen in many of the cases that few of the startups, they have done the wrong strategizing of their regulatory pathway, and they have to either stop the journey of their entrepreneurship because they have failed to raise the fundings, or in many other cases, what I have find that they are wrongly guided with their respect to their pathway. So in that cases also, they have ended up, they had to end their journey of the entrepreneurial, of entering into the journey of their entrepreneurs. So just ensure that to whomever you are going to be interacting, to whomever you are going to get the guidance, should have a good knowledge in their fields, because it will be going to be directly impact on your product, or on your future careers with respect to your devices. In many other cases, I have interacted around 3-5 startups. They have either received a very huge quotation from the some of the external consulting companies, and whenever they have applied, because whenever you are going for the funding, you have to apply for the with respect to the getting the funding, and their funding has straightforward rejected. So make sure that take the quotation from different agencies, make sure that you have a correct strategy in place at a very well in advance, at the very beginning stage, so you will not get stuck at any of your point.
Right, perfect. So thank you so much everyone for joining with us again. And yeah, Dr. Ashok, yes, it was a really good having you as well on all the sessions. So yeah, we'd like to close the webinar now. And whoever has any other queries, you can just write me as well. I can connect you on that then. And we'll keep sharing for the other webinars who are coming up or which we have planned in the coming days and weeks. So we'll keep sharing with you as well. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so much,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yeah.